Patients who need urgent treatment at the Korle Bu Intensive Care Unit and Recovery Ward may have to wait a little longer or lose their lives as the ward closes down for renovation.
Of 10,000, which went into drugs, but still they didn't do the operation, and my daughter died.
The recovery ward of the neurosurgical department at the Korle Bu Teaching Hospital has had only 4 beds for the past 2 years. Hospital authorities say the closure is to renovate the urology, neurosurgery and general surgery units, but doctors and patients tell Joy News that intensive care units and recovery ward have been virtually closed down for at least 24 months.
It's been going on for the past 2 years. So that is done. It's difficult to treat critically ill patients that have brain problems and spinal cord problems.
So what led to the crippling of such a critical component of the nation's foremost teaching hospital? How many people have lost their lives due to the 2 years closure of the intensive care unit? Why did the health ministry take this long to address this concern? This is today's big story. My name is Kwache Afreniama. The closure resulted in the death of a number of patients who needed urgent treatment at the facility, including a 21-year-old student of the KNUST. We can now listen to some patients who have been denied services of the neurosurgical unit.
And they said the temperature was too high for the surgery. So unless they treat the temperature to come down. And within the period from 2nd November to 12th November, they were unable to treat the temperature to come down for the surgery to go on. But within this period too, they prescribed medicines that we bought a tune of 10,000, which went into drugs, but still they didn't do the operation. And my daughter died. We were surprised from August to January, about 6 months, why she said if it takes longer. But we have no option to agree because he said that is the next available time to do the surgery. So in 4 weeks, my daughter get crippled.
My condition is it was in August. I had this sudden attack and was rushed to 37 and subsequently referred to Korle Bu. And all the investigations showed that I have a brain tumor, and it has affected my body generally. Actually, it started from the left side, and now I'm just feeling bad almost all over my body.
The understanding is that when people are given date for surgery, they are told to come at another time. Is that same with you?
Here, as in my case, I was told that the theater is not in good condition. It's under repairs, so they need to fix it. And so I couldn't even be given a date. I was told to go and come several times. My condition, I feel bad. I have almost sleepless nights. My body is deteriorating. That's the way because I know my body. I feel that I'm deteriorating by the day. I'm deteriorating.
So you had some patients there who were either denied access to the ICU unit of the Korle Bu Teaching Hospital, and earlier you also had a father of a victim who lost his life, a student of the KNUST there at the ICU unit. But hospital authorities say the closure is to renovate the urology, neurosurgery and general surgery units, but doctors and patients are worried the facility may be closed indefinitely.
Specifically neurosurgery, we are not functioning well because we don't have a functional theater and recovery wards. And I think that is what they're trying to fix. And until that is done, it's difficult to treat critically ill patients that have brain problems and spinal cord problems.
How long has that been?
This has been going on for the past 2 years, if no more.
So what happens to the people who come?
Your guess is as good as mine. I presume they have to look for help somewhere else, and if you can't get the help, either you get disabled or you die.
Being a referral point, it looks like a last stop.
That is where the concern is, because this is really a last stop for majority of the patients in this country. But some of our work is done at the military hospital, and some of it is being done there. Some can be done in Kumasi. The capacity and extent is what may be the problem. But then this is the last stop, as you rightly said. So it means you can't get it done here and you don't have resources to go elsewhere to get it done, then that will be a bad case.
For 2 years, have you witnessed any of these deaths?
Yes, we do. We witnessed them.
That could have been saved.
2 months, yeah, they have come in, they've been waiting, and they eventually died because they don't have the resources to go elsewhere to be treated.
And do you have any idea when you will have all the consumables and things needed for?
Yes, the hospital management, I think they're working very hard. We've met with them, and this present tour that you're going around, the hope is that by the end of this month, early March, the place should be working.
Where exactly are we talking about?
This is the ground floor surgical theater. That's where the neurosurgery theaters are. And that is also where the intensive care unit and the high dependency units are.
And for 2 years, what have you workers who are supposed to be there doing?
Oh, yes, we've been working behind the scenes. We've been putting the pressure where we think we can put the pressure. We're explaining to patients. We've met with management several times. And they've been working around the clock to try and resolve this problem. Just that up till now, it hasn't been resolved.
Tell us exactly what you need there.
We need consumables in this instance refers to special little tubings, monitoring devices, catheters, that when a patient who has had surgery and is still unconscious, you need to plug them on to the machines that's going to monitor their heartbeat, monitor their breathing, monitor their brain function until they recover from the effect of the surgery and the anesthesia. That is when we say they're stable enough, and then you can then move them back to the regular ward and look after them there.
So there must have been a toll list then. Do you have an idea?
Oh, there's a toll list. There's no doubt about that. Intensive care equipment are expensive. I don't know what the cost is, but I think it's a toll list.
Well, Health Minister Alex Segbefia was at the hospital on Monday to address concerns following the shutdown of the clinic.
Yes, it begs the question as to how the whole planning structure was done. But this is a process that has been going on for quite a while. As I said, it didn't begin today. And over the years that it has been going on, the question is what steps were taken to do it on a gradual basis. In fairness, we talk of 3 ICUs, but the theater that is involved is needed by all. So the moment the theater is not functional, all the 3 suffer. So it's not like you can say, oh, we could have run 1 or 2 and leave the other. The theater has to work for the 3 ICUs to work. So it's whether it was 5 ICUs or 10 ICUs, the key is the theater. You've got to fix the theater, get it to work, and then the ICUs that are required will be in a position to also function, because it's all part and parcel of the same issue, if I can put it that way. I just wish it could have been done at a quicker rate, but I think that the CEO has given you all the other answers that you require in terms of what has gone on. And I'm hopeful that even though he has mentioned the end of March, that possibly it could be done much sooner, because I'm told all the consumables are in. And so if that is the case, then that may be possible. Bar one, I think one is to be flown in. He said there's one which has to be flown in, I think from Germany, one set of equipment. So,
Finally,
yes.
Based on this, are you going to step your feet more on such contracts and all of that for health facilities, since you are the secretary?
Well, we have to look at the whole issue of how contracts are dealt with, and ensuring that when contracts are dealt with, the end users have a part to play in it. They don't need to be the ones who sign the contract, but there has to be a level of consultation at the ground level or at a certain point, so that what is really required is what is obtained. It's very easy to sit in a ministry or to sit at the top and say, I need 5 of this, 10 of this, when really you may need only 4 here and another 3 elsewhere. So the idea of ensuring that we have thorough consultation before we purchase an order is very important, especially in a large contract of this nature, because this was actually a nationwide retooling exercise, and therefore what possibly equipment that one may be using in one hospital may be different from the other, the valves to connect them, stuff like that. So you have to be very clear and very specific what you're bringing in per unit or per hospital. If not, then you end up with some of the difficulties that I hear exist.
And what will you say about the issue with the CEO and the Senior Staff Association?
Well, we have written to both parties and told them to meet and resolve their issues. We've taken on board and given some advice, if I can, or guidance on some of the issues. We believe that they are, as their name says, they are senior officials of the hospital and the management, and many of these issues can be resolved actually internally. And we believe that management should be allowed to manage, but with a view as to what the people's concerns are within the management structure. And we've said if not, then the board should get involved.
So that was Health Minister Alex Segbefia. We can now speak to Dr. Gabriel Bernanke, President of the Coalition of NGOs in Health, on this matter. Mr. Bernanke, first I want to pick your thoughts on this matter.
Hello?
Mr. Bernanke, if you can hear me, I'm asking what you make of this entire development.
Please come again. I'm not hearing you.
I hope the line is better now.
Yeah, I can hear you now.
I'm asking a pretty worrying situation. What are your thoughts on this development?
Yeah, good evening. I think, as I indicated earlier, we are moving towards a situation where we have allowed personal interest to influence our professional work, and that we need to change our attitude towards this. We actually need to revise our nose in terms of managing national facilities. And we also need to ensure that the people we are working for is paramount to our personal interest. And that is our position. We think that it is not necessary. We need to move ahead.
But Mr. Bernanke, there are concerns that this development could affect the training of house officers, for example, and there'll be a huge impact on their level of competence when they finally pass through the system at this health facility you're talking about, the Korle Bu Teaching Hospital. You agree with that assertion?
Well, I would have loved to contribute there. I'm in a moving vehicle to Accra. But I'm saying is that it's a national issue, and it's also a leadership issue. So if you can allow me, I will make my input at the appropriate time. But I think that it is not helpful because we have had enough of that, and the ordinary people will actually suffer if we continue this way. And the leadership in the country have to take a very strong decision on how we can transform the institution.
Well, Mr. Bernanke, I know you're on the road there. You will be leaving us pretty shortly, but I've heard some stakeholders in the health sector also say that there's a trend where government only invests in building, say, hospitals, other than really, okay, it seems we lost Mr. Bernanke, Gabriel Bernanke, on the line. I was just about to ask him what, you know, the seeming concern about this trend where government spends a lot of money, you know, building new health posts, other than investing in the existing structures, as we have at the Korle Bu Teaching Hospital, the ICU unit. But we can hear from Dr. Gilbert Backel, the CEO of the Korle Bu Teaching Hospital. He has also been speaking to my colleague on our health desk, Hannah Dame.
Who did you give the contracts to, and what exactly went wrong? Reason why we have to close these 3 theaters, if I'm correct?
I mean, this is a long story. The government, with all good intentions, established a national retooling project for the teaching hospitals and many other institutions of the Ghana Health Service. This covers infrastructure, it covers equipment, and things like that. Now, this was done 2-3 years ago. Now, in the process, we've had challenges with the vendor meeting the specifications of items requested. So you may have items will come in, they do not meet the specification that were requested. We have to inform them and we send it back. We've had items that have come in which we were not able to use because other infrastructure was not ready. So they've stayed in boxes. Now you open them up, and because of the delay in using them, plastics, the plastic parts and other things have become caked or they become damaged. We have equipment that are on batteries. Because they have not been used, the batteries have run out. So you have all these issues. So which now, yes, you either have to get back to the vendor to get the items replaced. Most of these items have also exceeded their warranty period. So now the hospital has to find ways to replace, re-equip the items.
At your own cost?
It will have to be at our cost. Currently, if we are going to wait for the debate between us and the vendor, we will never open the ICU. And that is part of the reasons why it has been opened.
Somebody must be held accountable then, because then somebody must have been monitoring, isn't it?
Well, I fully agree with you. Accountability, who signed it, who's supposed to have followed up on it. We are documenting all the challenges we have faced. We are presenting to the ministry, which is the government agency which contracted this retooling for the entire country, and we will follow up and ask the ministry to either support or hold the vendors who are responsible accountable to replace, re-equip, or do what they have to do, so long as the liability rests with them. But these are some of the real challenges why we've not been able to operate this place.
Who is this vendor?
It's a project called the Bellstar Project. There are many vendors inside it. Yes.
What was the cost?
Ooh. I do not have the actual figures and I will not attempt to guess. Yes.
So what would be the cost of retooling again?
Well, currently we've actually spent nearly 700,000 cedis to get in the various items and gadgets we need to get the various recovery wards and intensive care units running. And this is just the immediate expenditure. So whether other items are going to be working or not, till we start the place going, we will not know till we spark all the machines and see what we have to do.
And so in the meantime, because this has been off for like 2 years, what happens to the staff there? Because we were told by the principal nursing officer they need a lot of labor as well.
Yes, this is again a planning issue. You want to set up an ICU, you need a cadres of specialized staff, nurses, doctors, pharmacists, different cadres of people, for which the hospital is also now preparing itself to have these cadres in the numbers. We have some, but not in the numbers that will be required to manage the ICUs and recovery wards efficiently. So that will be the next challenge, how to get the adequate numbers of properly qualified and skilled persons to run an intensive care.
So that was the CEO of the Korle Bu Teaching Hospital, Dr. Bakel. Unfortunately, we were unable to exhaust that conversation with Mr. Bernanku, but we have Cecilia Sono, a member of the Coalition of NGOs in Health, on the line. Thank you, madam, for joining us on today's big story. I was asking Mr. Bernanku this question about the concern by some stakeholders in the health sector that doctors who are supposed to pass through this system, say house officers, may not acquire the necessary skills that will enable them to garner the needed competence to operate on the job when they pass through the system because of the situation, you know, we're experiencing in Korle Bu right now. You think those concerns have merit?
Thank you very much for putting me on this line. I'm the Executive Director for Future Generations, a member of the coalition. Yeah, I'm listening on your news, and I can't say that people are not competent. I think they are competent, that is why they are doing that. But the story is rather sad. I've been listening to it on the news, and I don't think it's competency.
We're having a pretty bad line with Cecilia Sono, a member of the Coalition of NGOs in Health. We go for a short break and return and possibly speak to a member on the Health Committee of Parliament, Dr. Twum Nneoma, for their perspective on this, because we know that they approved some funds for retooling of the teaching hospitals across the country somewhere in 2011. We'll be right back. Welcome back to today's big story. We've been joined again, hopefully we can have a better line, member of the Coalition of NGOs in Health, in fact, former Vice President of that coalition, Mrs. Cecilia Sono. Thanks for joining us once again on today's big story. And I was asking you earlier what you make of concerns by some in the health sector that this could certainly affect the competence of doctors who are trained at Korle Bu due to the situation at the health facility.
Thank you very much to your listeners. I mean, I'm surprised that people are competent, they are passed well, then they should be able to deliver this. I mean, I don't think it is something that will affect their competence, but I think it's a leadership has to really pick up and address the issue because lives are being lost.
Okay. All right, pretty bad line still, but we'll still try and get the thoughts and the perspectives of the Coalition of NGOs in Health, and as well get through to Parliament. In fact, as I mentioned earlier, the House passed approved some monies to retool teaching hospitals. That was in 2011. This was, part of the money that was used to buy some of these equipments at the ICU units that we now learning have expired. And it seems the minority in Parliament, particularly on the Health Committee of Parliament, have some grave concerns about this matter. The fact that this money certainly have gone waste. One of the key concerns that they raise is about how, the ICU has been closed down for 2 years and how officials at that facility failed to do, well, in their view, nothing about the situation. In fact, we have a statement from the Department of Surgery of the Korle Bu Teaching Hospital. My colleague Felix Akoyam has a copy of this statement. Felix, thanks for joining us on today's big story.
Thank you, Alfred.
What does this statement say?
Essentially, this statement is reacting to, an earlier release we got from the management of Korle Bu Teaching Hospital, and I'll just read briefly some excerpts from this statement to you. The heading says, resolution adopted by surgical residents at an emergency meeting, lack of theater stroke recovery ward space. The ground floor theater, ICU, HDU has been shut down for renovation since February 15, 2014. As a result, the first floor recovery ward has also doubled as an ICU, and this has put enormous pressure on the recovery unit and also limited the number of cases done daily, both urgent and emergency cases. This has affected patient care because urgent and emergency cases have been postponed to the detriment of patients. So essentially, Alfred, what this statement is saying is that there's been a lot of pressure on the ICU department after it was shut down about 2 years ago. And they also make some resolutions here. There are key resolutions. There are about 5 of them. It says that the plight of our patients has worsened, and there is evidence of some patients becoming worse, also developing complication and even passing away whilst waiting for theater space. They also go on to mention the fact that some of their patients have also insulted them because, the patients feel that the residents or the doctors who are supposed to take care of them are not doing enough, with many of them losing their relatives and all that. There's another one which also says that neurosurgery unit has performed less than half the number of surgeries for 2013 since the ground floor theater was closed for renovation. And I'll briefly read the conclusion part of the statement to you. It says that in view of the aforementioned, residents have resolved to give a deadline of 31st January to get the ground floor theater fixed and full surgical services restored. We do know that, I mean, we are in February now, and so certainly that date has elapsed. But this is a statement that's coming from the surgery department of the Korle Bu Teaching Hospital, signed by Dr. Hadi M. Abdullah, residents rep.
And the most disturbing aspect of all this is that we're not sure when exactly these surgical clinics are going to be open. But thank you very much, Felix Akoyam, and my colleague Felix Akoyam there with a copy of a statement from the surgical department of the Korle Bu Teaching Hospital. Pretty worrying situation there. That'll be all for today's big story. My name is Kwache Afreniama.